Hi, I'm Chris Corson, and welcome to my studio in the Greenbelt Community Center. I really look forward to the day when this can be in person, and I look forward to when we can get children back in the building. As you probably know, this was the original elementary school in Greenbelt, and it should be filled with kids, but for the pandemic, it would be filled with kids. What I would like to show you today are pieces that are actually not here in the studio with me. I have a show on now at Studio Gallery downtown. It's in the DuPont Circle area. And it's a show of pieces that I've been working on for almost a year now. And they are protest pieces. And if you have any familiarity with my work, I tend to do very sort of introverted figures, a lot of emotional exploration. At least that's what I try to do. And there just comes time when we need to get out of our grooves and get onto the barricades, so to speak. And I'm just so angry at so much that's going on in the world today. That I just had to protest, and so I started a series of pieces. Let me show them to you. Here's some stills of the show, just so you can see where it is downtown. Again, Studio Gallery, and that's one side of the show. You can see the title. It's "'Cause We Need To." Because these pieces are about causes that we really need to care about. This is another corner of the show, and those are the remaining pieces. But let me focus on the pieces themselves. This one, if you tuned in, actually, the last virtual studio tour, I probably showed you this. It is Be the World I Need. All of these protest pieces, or the first 7 that I'll show you, are really in the form of a stela, Greco-Roman stela, which is a monument form. That's that rectangular base, and the stela were inscribed. It's maybe hard to see in this picture, but I've inscribed the letters, "Be the World I Need," because especially after coming to Greenbelt a bit more than a year ago and starting to work with the children here in the community center, it just brings so home to you that we need to be doing a better job. I mean, the community center does a great job, but as a nation, as a world, we're not leaving a good world for our kids. And so I just imagine this is a piece where that child is trying to communicate, be the world I need, be better. I need to have a world to live in. The second piece that I did, my second protest piece, also this stela form, monument form, our survival is yours, because if we don't take care of the world, if we don't preserve nature, preserve the animals, we'll be next. And in this piece, I did a rhinoceros head. They are on the brink of extinction. I did the bird. The bird is a cardinal. The bird is hardly endangered, at least not now. But 100 years ago, you would have said the same thing about the passenger pigeon. And now they're all gone, they're extinct. So, and I also included the snake because I don't know if you like snakes, I don't particularly like snakes, but they're part of our world too. And so we really need to preserve everything and everybody and figure out how we coexist. Otherwise, as I say, we'll just be next. if we get rid of the animals, we'll be getting rid of ourselves. I want to show you another piece. This one, called Be My Voice, and chains and bars, shackles. There are just so many people in the world and in our country, the trafficked peoples, the exploited peoples. There's modern slavery in the world, so the modern enslaved. And they're all in circumstances where they can't speak for themselves. And we need to care about them, we need to find them, and we need to speak up for them. So I did this piece. Let me get to another one. This one, I'm just so angry at keeping children in cages on our southern border. The words on this one: suffer little children and forbid them not. The entire passage out of Matthew in the New Testament: suffer little children and forbid them not to come unto me. And, I can't imagine there's a religion in the world that thinks that keeping children in cages, separating them from their parents and keeping them in cages is an acceptable behavior. And, for all the people out there who pretend to be religious and don't condemn this, I think there's just something wrong there. Let me show you a different view of this piece. Here it is. This is looking down on the child, and you can see that he's lying on the letters DHS, Department of Homeland Security. I think sometimes you need to kind of make your point with a sledgehammer, especially if people aren't listening. The firing in this, I'll just give an aside on my principal firing method, which is pit firing. Often can go quite dark. Sometimes you get mottled grays. With the Our Survival Is Yours piece, I really got some beautiful browns. This one's a little dark. In pit firing, I actually have the option to refire it, which I may do at some point. There's a lot of detail on that little child, which doesn't come through quite as much as I want, but we'll see. Everything can evolve and needs to evolve. So that may be a future evolution of this piece. Another is this: help my brother, he fled. And this is a piece about the world's refugees around the world, and the refugees, frankly, who are trying to come to our country. And I thought a lot about how to do this piece. And it occurred to me that when we see pictures of refugees on the news, they're generally in these terrible, dirty, squalid camps, where they're out on the road, they're running across the desert. And it's hard to identify with them in circumstances like that. But I thought, well, what about how they were before the situations occurred that caused them to have to flee? And I thought, of course, they lived in their neighborhoods, they had their families, they worked hard, they loved their children, and then disaster, whether it was the war in Syria or in Yemen, whether it's gang threats and violence in South America, Central America, and they have to flee. But just because we see them now in such reduced circumstances shouldn't interrupt the reality that they're just like us, and they wouldn't have fled if they could have stayed. And so this is actually a man who stayed and was killed. And the message is, help my brother. He fled, and we should. We should help these people. Let me get to another. This one, I used to work for a labor union. I was the general counsel of a labor union, so economic matters are very important to me as well. And this one says it's my economy, stupid. And yeah, just think of how many politicians for years and recently look at the stock market and say, oh, the stock market's doing great, our economy is doing great. Well, I mean, yeah, it's doing great if you have a lot of stock, which most people don't. And if you look at the last tax cut and you know, virtually all the benefits flowing to the people in the 1% at the top, think back to the robber baron era. You know, we should have learned this lesson in the late 1800s when we had unbridled capitalism, and it went wild, and people got fabulously wealthy, and most people lived in poverty. We shouldn't have those days come back, but they're coming back. Wealth inequality in our country is scandalous. So that's why pig head of capitalism is hardly a new image to me, but I added to it with these stacks of coins coming out of the pig's head. I think of it as the Medusa pig head of capitalism. This one is not pit-fired. This is an oxide, red iron oxide, painted on the surface. It's really kind of ugly. And, you know, you can do red iron oxide, and it's a very soft sepia. But I didn't want this piece to be pretty. I think that unbridled capitalism is ugly. Let me go to this piece, Do Not Divide Me. And it really seems like race relations should be a whole lot simpler than it is. Humanity, I like the word humanity because, you know, it's who we are. It describes the species of person that we are, but it's also one of our highest qualities, the quality of humanity, the quality of being humane. And, you know, we've had so many great examples of great humans. I've depicted two of them here, but Mandela, Gandhi, Greta Thunberg, you know, Rachel Carson. I mean, there's just so many. And, you know, why don't we follow their example? There's one other, that's 7. These are my Stella pieces. And there's one other piece that I put in the show, and I call this White Privilege. And it's a full figure in the round, cut off at the lower abdomen. And it's glazed in an off-white. And frankly, it came out to be such a white guy, you know. And with those crossed arms, it became a symbol of white privilege to me. That he doesn't have to worry about being harassed by the police, but so many people in America do. So anyway, if you can get down to the show, please go see it. It's 2108 R Street Northwest, and it's up through October the 24th. But I also understand that a lot of people will not be able to get down there, so there's sort of the happy circumstance, the coincidence that this virtual art tour is up today, and I'm able to share these pieces with you. I'm really happy to have been able to do that. Please spread the word. And that is my 15 minutes. So thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it.